Hi, Diane here, and it is Saturday night. It's a little later than usual. I forgot to film my video today, so I want to get it in before I go to bed tonight. So it's going to be a little bit off the cuff. And because I've been in Samantha Kidd mode because of Union Jacked just coming out, I decided this would be a Samantha video, but not 100% about Union Jacked. This morning, I was at a Sisters in Crime meeting, and we were talking about characters. We were talking about exercises you can do to really learn your characters so they come alive on the page, and how important it is to really know not just the main things about a character, but some of the things. There's these little tiny defining things that you can put into a book about a character, and those things help explain why they do what they do throughout a series. So I started thinking about characters in the Samantha series and things that they have done that were those little defining moments. So I want to talk about a couple of those. The first one I'm going to talk about is from Designer Dirty Laundry, which is book 1. And this is a little thing that I think is defining for both Samantha and for Eddie. Eddie is her best friend, and we find out in Designer Dirty Laundry that they went to high school together. And the thing about Eddie, Samantha doesn't remember him, and he kind of prompts her a little bit after they become friends. She shows up at the store that he works at. He prompts her, "Do you not remember me?" And she's thinking about it, and then she remembers the math test. So here's what happened with the math test. Eddie was a new student at the high school. There was a math test, and Eddie and another student who was the head of the football team both had perfect scores. And there was a cheating scandal, and everyone blamed Eddie. They thought Eddie cheated off the football player's test. He was the new guy, and had he been caught, it would have meant the end of his scholarship to art school. It would have been the whole difference for Eddie in his life. Well, Samantha was in the back of the classroom during the test, daydreaming. As we know, Samantha sometimes can do. Her mind does wander. She saw the whole thing. She went to the principal. She told the truth. The football player got caught. And Eddie went on to become the fantastic director of visual at Tradava, as we know him today. But again, I think that was kind of a defining thing for both of them, that Eddie went through that. He was the new guy and he had that experience, but also it was a tiny little thing in that first book that told us the kind of person Samantha is, that she was somebody who was willing to go out on a limb for what was right, even though this wasn't somebody who was good friends with her. And they talk about that a little bit, and it kind of becomes the foundation of their friendship. So that is a little character thing from Designer Dirty Laundry. The next one I'm going to talk about is from Cement Stilettos, which is book 7. And this has to do with Nick, who is Samantha's love interest. On again, off again. There's you know the series, there's other characters that come and go. But by the time we got around to Cement Stilettos, we pretty much knew that they were set. They were a couple at this point. But I really kind of felt like Nick maybe was a little too perfect. He wasn't perfect, but what did we really know about him? And in Grand Theft Retro, book 5, Samantha had her little moment where she realized she didn't know as much about him as maybe she thought she did, and she discovered quite a few things about him. So by the time we get to book 7, some skeletons start coming out of the closet with him. In fact, a body comes out of the closet literally in one of the first 3 chapters. And that exposes some really interesting stuff about Nick's backstory, and took him from being sort of the cardboard, like, hey, perfect guy, to being like, oh, whoa, you got some baggage too. Yeah, suddenly Samantha doesn't look so bad in comparison because Nick's got some stuff to deal with as well. So that was like another character thing in Cement Stilettos that came out that, book 7 didn't come out through the first 6 books. There you go. I told you it was late. Okay, now, because I'm not going to keep you here all night, I am going to zoom right into Union Jacked, which is still my proof copy, which is why there's a banner across Samantha's face. But anyway, Union Jacked, the new book, just book 9, just came out. And the thing I want to talk about here is Detective Loncar, because he's a character who's been in all the books, and he's a character who I didn't even really think too much about when I first wrote the first book. I knew there had to be a cop. I knew he was going to be a foil. I knew he wasn't going to be a love interest. A lot of cozy series, the love interest is the detective, and I didn't really want to do that here. But I just knew that he was not going to want Samantha around, and he was going to not be happy with her sleuthing. What ended up happening was, after many, many revisions, after shelving that book, coming back to that book, attending California Crime Writers Conference and Homicide School for Writers, I had a better understanding of cops and how they acted. And I went back and I revisited some of his scenes, and I realized they were really off, and I rewrote them. And then by the time book 2 came around, and I was looking at that one, and I thought, I really like these encounters between Loncar and Samantha. So I wrote out that one, book 3. And I remember there were scenes where he showed up because there was a dead body, and the cops are going to come. And I thought, oh great, now I got to do the cop thing. And then I thought, no, wait, I love writing Samantha and Loncar. So I got to do it again. And by the time book 4 rolled around, it was sort of getting old. It's like, hey, I'm an average person. I'm going to investigate this crime. No, you're not. I'm a cop. Get out of my crime scene. How many times can you do that? So by book 4, the interesting thing there was that Loncar wasn't really investigating the arsons. And so he was kind of, and the arson investigator didn't really want him around. So in a weird way, he kind of flipped and became sort of on Samantha's side, that he wasn't investigating a crime. She's nosing around, but she was kind of a victim in that book. So their relationship changed a little bit. Book 5 rolled around, and that's when we really started to find some things out about his personal life. And that was when he, to me, really became a full character in her universe. I guess I said I was going to talk about Union Jack, but I'm kind of talking about all of them, aren't I? Oh well. So let's just fast forward then to Union Jack. We already know at this point that he's been having trouble with his marriage. We know that his daughter had a baby. We know that he's trying to deal with this new life of maybe being separated, maybe reconciling, but he's a cop. The thing about Union Jack is he's being forced into retirement. And through all these books, what has defined him, the one constant, has been that he has been the homicide detective in Ribbon, Pennsylvania. And here, that is the one thing that he had left that was the stable thing, and it's being taken away from him. So not only do we get the Samantha scenes with him, but we get him losing the one thing that matters to him when everything else is going away. And we kind of get to see how losing that changes the way he acts towards Samantha. So she changes a lot in the book because she kind of realizes all these other times when she's been in his face about investigations and how she really had no right to do it. But he sees her differently because this time he can't really investigate, and he's about to lose, his life's going to change, and it changes his perspective as well. So that was kind of the really fun thing. This book really does get into Loncar quite a bit. I knew when I came up with the title first, but I came up with the title, I started thinking, I thought this is going to be about him. I didn't really know what it was going to be about, and I discovered a lot of it on the pages. So I hope you enjoyed reading about Loncar in Union Jack as well. And have no fear. As I was writing this book, I already knew where I was going with the next book, so I'm really excited because we are going to revisit some of the things that I've talked about in this video, but I'm not going to tell you which things because that would spoil all the fun. So anyway, there you go. A little bit of character insight in Samantha Kidd's universe, and I'm going to wind this down, and thanks a lot for watching.